everybody, Thrifty Teresa here. Thank you for joining me again for another one of my Etsy seller interviews. I'm super duper excited to have this person join me today. She does not make YouTube videos, but she mentioned when I asked her if she would consider doing an interview that maybe this would launch her into making some videos in the future. So that would be wonderful. Today we have Christina Alicia on with us, and her shop is ChrisAliciaVintage on Etsy. Thank you for joining me, Chris. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. I'm Christina Alicia. I have two shops on Etsy. The first shop is ChrisAliciaVintage, and I recently started a second shop called SoFlyVintage, where I'm hoping to focus mostly on clothing items. So it's still a work in progress. I haven't been able to spend much time with it, but hopefully today I'm going to share a little bit about the Chris Alicia shop, which was my very first shop. And then I'm happy to share more about the journey to selling clothing items on Etsy, which is a little bit, it's a newer for me, but yeah.
Oh, that's great. One of the reasons I forgot to mention the second shop, and I do apologize for that, but that was one of the reasons that I sought you out, is because you are selling clothing, and that is a topic that most of the people I've talked to don't sell.
Right.
So it's great to have perspectives from everybody in the reselling community. So how long have you been reselling, and how did you find Etsy?
I've been actively reselling for going on 2 years now. I opened up a shop in 2012, but I was actually selling handmade jewelry. I was still finishing up school. I was finishing up a postdoc, and at the time, the other postdoc who I shared an office with, she sold handmade dog collars and cat collars and animal blankets on Etsy. And she was running a store, which is still active right now, called Cozy Pom Pom. And I was asking her about if there were flea markets in New Haven. I was in New Haven at the time. If there are flea markets that I could sell my jewelry that I was making at. And she said, you should jump on Etsy. So I started off with a store called Chris Alicia Shop. And I was selling handmade necklaces and bracelets that I had made while I was in school. And I slowly lost interest in that. And at the time, I discovered that I lived very close. I lived near a Goodwill outlet. And that was one of the worst discoveries ever. So at that time, I had began to look through what was happening at this space. And everybody was grabbing goodies, and I started looking at things that I thought were fairly valuable. And I didn't start selling right away, but I did start finding a few treasures for myself. And then I decided to pick up a few more that I would give a try online.
Well, that's cool. That's great that you started as a handmade seller.
Yeah.
I did too, and I know others did as well. And making the transition to vintage shouldn't have been too hard, since you're already familiar with the platform and things like that. Do you sell on other platforms besides Etsy?
I do. I also cross-list everything that I have in my Etsy store on eBay, and I've found it very useful. When I look at my total sales, I think I have about 300 plus items sold in my Etsy shop, the Chris Alicia Vintage shop, my primary shop. And I have about 150 deactivated items. So if I did not cross list, I would have missed out on 150 sales. So I am very glad that I cross list everything on Etsy and eBay. And I keep track of everything on my cell phone. So as soon as I hear the cha-ching, I go onto the one of the whatever platform it didn't sell on. I'll go on there, deactivate it as soon as possible to make sure that two items don't sell at the same time.
That's good. That's good. Are you going to be doing that as well with the clothing shop? Do you also cross-list the clothing?
Yeah, I do cross list the clothing. When I started the clothing shop, I was wondering, I was selling clothes in the ChrisAliciaVintage, but the clothes weren't moving. So I said, let me create a shop where I can just focus on clothing. My favorite time period is the period I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So when I started ChrisAlicia, I didn't really pick a year to focus on. So to really showcase the 80s and 90s items, I figured let me pull the clothes out and experiment to see how they'll do on their own. So I started pulling the clothing items out, and it's probably against the Etsy rules, but a few times I would have the same dress in both shops just to see. And I noticed I better pull the 90s clothing out of the ChrisAlicia shop and just keep it in the SoFly, because I received a hit or two that I did a movement on it when it was in the ChrisAlicia, which has everything under the sun. So it's an experimental shop. I do cross-list everything from that shop into the eBay store as well. And sometimes I'm trying to up the numbers of clothing in that shop. And the minute I'll put a clothing item on SoFly, I'll sell it on eBay. So hopefully I'll get my clothing numbers up this year to really see if selling clothing in a clothing shop is a better way to go to get those items to move.
Well, that's good. It's a great experiment. It's a risk-free experiment for the most part. It doesn't cost too much money to list on Etsy. So that's definitely something that you're able to do. And then you can track the stats, like you said. That's good. And that's something that I've sort of done with my second shop, but I'm now reverting back to taking the inventory for my second shop and putting it back into Thrifty Teresa. So, yeah, so it was a bad experiment for me, but of course I'm wishing you all the success.
Thank you.
So what would be, or tell me when you started the vintage shop, because you said we've been open about the same amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we started, I believe our shops opened around November 2014, if I remember correctly. And when I started the shop, I also started watching Planet Alyssa. And I would see your comments, so I decided to visit your shop. It was before you started doing YouTube videos. And at that time, I was wondering, I wonder what she's doing. And it would be interesting to compare stories, because we've sold about at the same rate. We sell things at slightly different items, maybe price point slightly different as well, but we seem to sell around the same rate. And I was wondering if you were like paying for advertisements. I don't pay for advertisements, and I was also very active on Etsy when I first started. And I'm still unsure if that's even necessary. I liked shops. I favorited the maximum number of shops to favorite. I followed people. I sent messages. I hearted things that I liked. And when I saw your shop and we're selling the same amount of items, I asked myself, I wonder if this is necessary. I wonder if she's doing that too.
Well, for the most part, I have not been as active as you are describing with the favoriting and the following and things like that, except for these last couple of months. I'm doing an experiment of my own right now. In the last 2 months, I have been active on one specific Etsy team where I've been participating in some of their little daily games where you favorite everybody's stuff and they come and favorite my stuff. I have experienced an uptick in sales, but I'm not quite sure if that's related. This week, I decided I'm not going to participate in the teams, mostly because I'm really busy. I'm getting ready to go on vacation, and I've got a lot of stuff I need to do. So I have stopped participating in the teams this week and will not participate for the foreseeable future to see if that makes any difference. March and April have been my most successful months, and those are the months that I was actively participating on this team. I do notice I'm getting in a lot more treasuries and stuff because of that. But as far as that goes, that's a little experiment. So I'm going to experiment back and forth with the teams depending on how much time I have in the day. And then I do pay for the monthly promotions. I pay $1 a day, a maximum of $1. A lot of times I don't even reach that $1 per day. And if you are making the sales generically without promoting your sales the way I do, you're more successful than me if you look at it that way, because you're not paying for the advertising that I am paying for. Okay. I noticed today on your vintage shop that we actually have, like you said, about the same number of sales. We have exactly the same number of feedback.
Wow.
We both have 77 happy feedback. So awesome. I thought that was really funny.
It always shocks me the people who come back to say thank you or great delivery or great service. Because some of the coolest items or items I think are the coolest, people, I never hear from them again. But then there's some items where I'm like, you came back to say great package for, but, it's an unpredictable type of business. I just go with it. But I'm always shocked to see who comes back to rate or to review the item.
Yeah, it definitely gives you those good, happy butterflies when you see the feedback that somebody was happy with. Even if it's something silly like fast shipping, it's like, well, I sent it out the door, but I didn't deliver it. I'm glad it got to you fast, but oh boy, if it was delayed, I hope that's not a problem either.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about your items in the vintage shop. What would be your bread and butter sales?
Wow, that's a good question. So if you ask me and I don't look at any numbers at all, I would have said that it wasn't an item, but more of like a material. So brass, leather, or wood. And that could be something to decorate your house with, or to a place on your desk, or even a toy of some sort. But when I look at the actual numbers, I've actually sold more purses than any other item. And that's true on, I believe, the Etsy, and when I do the numbers and the math for the eBay, that's also fairly consistent, that the purses are the largest seller. But I would have said, brass items to decorate your home. But I don't think that's true if I actually count everything up.
But that's definitely something that you would then shop for, or something that you would pick up if you are outsourcing. Absolutely. Those are the types of things that you look for, is the brass, wood, and what was the other one?
Leather items.
Leather. Oh, yeah, the purses. Are the purses something that you are keeping in your vintage shop, or are those going to make their way over to the clothing store?
Most of the purses, it's a mixture of purses. So if there's a specific aesthetic, I guess I'm trying to work out through the store, which I don't think is there yet. But I want to keep it like fresh, funky, and keep it to fit more things that my mother used to wear and have in the 90s, and my older sister used to have in the 90s. And with that look, there are some items that might be 90s that will just stay in the Chris Alicia shop. But for the most part, I want to heavy load that SoFlyVintage.com or Etsy shop with clothing. That's the goal. And then to keep some of the accessories and purses in the Chris Alicia vintage shop. It is the shop that has the most followers. It gets in a lot more treasuries than the other shop. And I do want to take advantage of the following that shop has had over the last few years.
Okay, so you seem to have built a good amount of success in the beginning of your vintage shop by, like you were saying, participating in the teams and following and favoriting. Is that something that you're going to start doing for your clothing store?
I made the decision not to, and part of that is a little experiment as well. I'm curious to see what happens when you have more organic followers versus supporters. I think right now the ChrisAliciaVintage has a lot of supporters, but I don't know if those are actually consumers of the items. And I assume that if they have a picture connected to their profile, they're probably a shop owner and more of a supporter. And if they don't, they're probably a consumer. So right now I'm trying to let it happen more organically with the SoFlyVintage, just to see if there's a difference in sales.
Okay, good. Now, is there anything over the course of the last, year or so with your vintage shop that you learned when you opened your second shop? It's kind of like, what am I trying to say? Giving advice to new sellers, you would then, I wish I knew this when I first opened a shop. Now that you have been a shop owner for a while, what kind of things are you applying to the second shop to help build its success?
Yeah, I think part of this idea of success with being a reseller has a lot to do with something that I'm trying to get better at in practice now, which I didn't have up front, and that is like discipline around sourcing or shopping, And I think in order to really see the numbers and see the success, you have to be strategic about what you buy, how much you buy. And because I'm a reformed shopaholic, I have to, pull myself back and say list before buying more. And I think if you could set that habit up front, you're going to save yourself a lot of money, and you're also saving yourself from clutter and getting things disorganized and so on. So I think that practice will also help you see profits more quickly.
So that's great. So you source a certain amount, and then you sort of tell yourself, I need to get this listed before I can continue to keep, piling in more stuff. Is that basically it?
Well, that's the goal. So right now I'm at a point where I've made that, I've had that aha moment. I said, okay, you got to work through this. And right now I'm just in the process of trying my best to just list what I have. And if I do that consistently and faithfully, I don't even need another sale. It's just so hard because where I am, and I don't think I mentioned Cincinnati, Ohio, things are fairly cheap and inexpensive. So it's very hard to say no. It's one of those cities that if you're a reseller, for those who are from Cincinnati watching, this place is a golden place to be, because you can find things for really cheap. And everyone who lives here who resells knows exactly what I mean by that, based on the types of stores that are available here.
So what types of stores do you have? You've mentioned you discovered the Goodwill outlet. Where else do you like to do your sourcing?
Yeah,
and you don't have to tell names and give away your secrets.
There is a Goodwill outlet, but I mostly go to Goodwills and thrift stores, and there are a few private owned thrift stores, and there's also the other religious or church oriented thrift stores here. I don't get around to a lot of estate sales or auctions. I did when I lived in Illinois for a brief time, so I was able to get some much more older items in those types of sales. But some of the thrift stores that I go to, they mark some things as low as cents on the dollar. So you're getting leather jackets sometimes for less than a quarter, and this is not a weigh and pay situation. So when I'm watching haul videos and I'm watching people buy things for $3 and $4, I actually think that's really expensive, given that the different options here. Yeah, I'm like, you spent what? But
Yeah.
it's all relative to where people live.
Absolutely. I see people's haul videos and I'm like, you got that for a quarter? Oh my gosh, it would have been $7 here.
Yeah.
And then I would have bought it for $7 and then I probably would have only jacked it up to like 14 and made a very poor profit. But hey, you work with what you got. So that's fantastic. You've got a nice assortment of places to go. You know the places that price in the right kind of range that you like, and you benefit. It's fantastic. Yeah. Did you bring anything that you wanted to show and tell us today? This is my favorite part, when you show us your stuff.
This was really hard to do because I had so many things I wanted to share. So for the Chris Alicia shop, what I decided to do was select 3 items I feel that are overlooked at Goodwills and thrift stores. I hear a lot of times people say things are very expensive in my area. And I think that consistently, no matter what state or area you live in, these are going to be items that are just overlooked often. The first item I have, which some may have seen already from previous videos, are prescription eye lenses. Yeah. I don't know if you can see the details with these, but these are already up in the Chris Alicia shop, and I think these are fairly cool. I tend to sell the most glasses in the summertime, so people will pop these out and either put new lenses in them or transform them into sunglasses. And I can find glasses like this for less than $1. I think a lot of times these are overlooked because people assume who would want to buy glasses with lenses in them already. And you can definitely get a good deal on different lenses. And here's just another pair here. It's hard to see some of the detail here, but these have a very cool pink rim. And I just look carefully, making sure there's no mold, which is sometimes an issue, and then making sure that they can be clean. But if the lens is scratched up, you can still sell them because people are mostly interested in the frames.
That's very smart. And 100% honesty, I just bought 2 pairs of sunglasses last week on Etsy. So vintage sunglasses, vintage glass frames, that's fantastic, especially if you can find them so inexpensively.
Right. I'm not sure what the price I have on these, but I might sell something like this for about $35-40. So I work full time, so I rather sell one thing for $40 than sell 3 things for 10, or 4 things for 10. So I just price it, list it, and just wait for the right seller to come along.
Perfect. That's a good way to do it. So what else do you got besides glasses?
This next item is not exactly what I wanted to show, but it gives you the same idea. This is actually a very tiny holiday sweater, but it's actually for a kid. One of my first 2 sales in the shop dealt with Christmas sweaters. I think it's an item that's overlooked during the summer times and also during the springtime. At the end of the Christmas season, people will donate their sweaters, and they've only bought them for a party. And if you can find them with glitter and sequins on it, you can actually get upwards of $35-40 for a sweater, and you can get stuff like this for $1 or less. They will mark them up in a lot of stores once the holiday season comes. So the goal is to buy items like this during the summer or the spring, or even, in January, right when people are donating all of the stuff that they don't want. And Christmas items, I will sell Christmas sweaters sometimes in July sometimes. And then if you do sell them, you might put you can put a express shipping option, because a lot of times people are buying these at the last minute. So most of my next day rush shipping is actually connected to a holiday sweater.
That is so smart. Christmas in July is a real thing.
Yeah, yeah.
People do that, so that's fantastic. Excellent tip about the Christmas items, and especially the sweaters.
And it's one of those things where I just feel like it's overlooked. This sweater is not Christmas. It's gonna go in the SoFly store, but it has this gold shimmer print. So even though it's gonna go in this 80s, 90s fashion store, because of the print, I'm also going to use the tag Christmas sweater, because people who still want to be fashionable and want an ugly sweater but not too ugly still might be interested in a sweater like this during the holidays.
You still want to look good. Yeah.
So that's that for that store. And last, I actually got a purse for the Chris Alicia. Again, this was, if I count up how many items or types that I sell, the purses I sell the most purses out of any category. And what happens is that people donate coaches, fake coaches, and a Goodwill will put them behind a glass cabinet for $500. And you're like, that's a fake coach, and coach doesn't cost $500 in the store, but they think they have a treasure. It's some of these old vintage purses that don't sometimes have a name. Sometimes they do, that are often marked very cheap because the person pricing doesn't recognize what it is. So you can find real leather bags. This one actually doesn't have a name, but you can tell from the hardware, the quality, the leather, and even the inside that it's definitely a vintage purse. So this is $1, and I'll probably list it for about $35 again. Again, I'm a lister. I'll let it sit there, and then when it hits, it hits. So I rather let it sit. So I have a slightly different strategy than some of the others on there on Etsy.
That purse is gorgeous. I have a friend in California. We go to Vegas together and stuff. She collects vintage purses, and when you brought that up to the camera, you probably couldn't see it. My eyes lit up. It's like, oh my gosh, my friend Gwen would love that.
Yeah.
So I'm in your store and send her the link, because that's right up her alley. That style with the little clasp thing and the color, and gorgeous. You've got a great eye.
Thank you. For the SoFly store, something that I sell a lot of, that I think gets overlooked at stores or mispriced. Sometimes they throw these with the wallets. These are just fanny packs. I sell these in both Chris Alicia and SoFly. When they sell them with the wallets, even at expensive places, you can get them for less than $3. If you take your time with them, you can get anywhere from $20, $22, all the way up to the fanny pack that I sold for the highest price was about $45. Now, if it is all leather, even if it's stained or there's still some defects with it, you can definitely get above $30. If it's more of this nylon vinyl material, then you're looking at a lower price. If it's an advertisement, depending on the nature of the advertisement, again, that tends to be around $20 or so. But there are people who sell stuff like this for $10 online, $15. And if they just price it at, that 30 range or 25 range, you'll definitely get it. And the more pockets that it has, it tends to sell a little bit faster. And this one is like one with the throw up a kid on the roller coaster. So this was an advertisement piece from '96 for Six Flags Magic Mountain. I'm not sure if that's familiar to any of the viewers. This one here has Mickey Mouse on it. So that automatically, because of the character subject matter, allows it to be worth a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And this one, the color, actually, this one's from Blends In. It's a tinier one, but again, multiple pockets, leather detail, and I'll probably list this one for about $30 as well. So again, I take time with items, but they do move, and I've sold of the different types of purses. Fanny packs are up there in terms of the types of bags that I sell more often.
Fantastic. That's great. So do you have any help with your Etsy business? I know that you do work full time. Do you have anybody that helps you source or ship or list or?
Yeah, so my mother who's retired helps, and I take all the photos for the shop with my iPad. I still can't figure out the fancy camera options, but I take photos, I edit photos, send them to, we do a lot of work on Dropbox, so I add the items there. And she will do research on items, and she has the terrible task of measuring everything. So I then go online, review, edit, and check prices out. And I decided to do that because she has sold a few things worth hundreds for much cheaper. So that we don't have that issue, I do go back and check her items because I have a few things that went very quickly. As soon as she listed them, of course, they were sold, but they were worth a lot more than they were listed for.
Well, that's okay though. You know, she has to learn, and I'm
Yes.
sure she's knowledgeable on some things that you may not be knowledgeable on. So the fact that you have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, and she's doing some of the dirty work for you, that's wonderful. And that's really nice for her. I'm sure that that she enjoys helping you out.
Yes, she enjoys it.
Great. So do you have any goals for your shop? You've been open for quite some time now, and you do have your next shop that you're working on, running little experiments here and there. Do you have any goals as far as you want to sell a certain number of items per week or a certain dollar amount per month?
Yeah, when I started this year, I told myself I wanted to sell at least one thing a day, or 365 items. And then last month, I said, you know what? I think I want to just double whatever I sold last year. I just want to double that number. So if I sold 10 items that month, I just want to sell 20. And so far, I've been doubling what I sold last year. And in addition to that goal, I'm hoping to each store category, I would like 100 items in each of those categories. Now, I don't know if I'm going to make it because I work full time and it's a lot of juggling, but that would be great if I could get 100 items in every store section for the Chris Alicia.
Now, we're allowed to have 15 categories now.
Yes.
So that would be 1,500 items. That's a lot of inventory.
It is, and I have to be close. I'm going to close shop for about a month and a half this summer. So I probably need to work on a more realistic goal. But I was thinking, well, it would be nice if I could get 100 items per shop. So we'll see. When I take pictures, I try to do them all based on the category to keep things consistent. And I'm hoping that I can come close to it. Maybe 50% of the categories, I can have 100 in there.
Okay. So when you do that, then, if you are listing a certain type of item, do you find that that sort of item starts selling more rather than listing a variety of stuff and then having random things sell? Do you find trends with what you're listing with what you're selling?
Yeah, I don't really find trends, actually. What I list this week, I'll probably sell next month or 2 months from now. The things that I'm selling are things that I listed when I first got started. I'm not sure why that happens, but maybe I don't sell a large amount of the things that I list. Maybe 10% of the things I list that month, I'll sell the same month that I listed. But for the most part, It takes time. I'm not the most expensive shop, but I'm not the cheapest shop. So I'm somewhere in the middle. And I think that the way that I sell probably is a reflection of that I'm somewhere in the middle.
Okay. I notice that sometimes I get those selling trends, like, for example, when I'm listing a whole bunch of playing cards, that's one of my favorite things to sell, that because I'm listing new cards, or even if I'm just relisting ones that haven't sold, all of a sudden I get a boom in card sales. And the same with some of the other items that I list in bulk, like the pin back buttons and things like that. And then when I am doing an assortment of things, so an assortment of toys and games and kitchen items and whatever, then my sales start to randomize themselves and more random stuff sells. But when I'm listing in bulk the same type of item, at least for myself, I've noticed some of those trends, which is why I wanted to know if you notice that too, if you list in lots.
The Christmas sweaters I'll list in a huge lot, but I don't know if it's the nature of like the season coming around and it's just that time versus me listing it all together. But I'll have to keep an eye on that when I'm listing, because I just started the trend of listing the same type of thing at one time. Before, I always listed random things to keep it interesting. But in terms of time, I rather list more and not keep it interesting than to try to make it interesting. And organization gets more complicated that way. So.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about the way my shop looks, or I don't use the customization when you can move your things around and it's like, I want this to be on page 1 and I want this to be on page 2, where I don't bother with any of that.
I used to.
I do kind of, I guess I do list and relist in small little groups. For example, the new Etsy format, the store, you've got 3 items across. So I've been listing in groups of 3s. So 3 playing cards is what I relisted earlier today. And then later today, I might list 3 postcards. So that I've got a line of postcards, a line of playing cards, a line of home goods, so the page sort of looks interesting.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. I never thought about that, especially when things expire. You have that choice to figure out what the 3 items are. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing lately. I don't know if it works or makes it look good or makes it look bad. It just it's just what I've been doing, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So besides, what was I going to ask? Oh, we talked a little bit about teams earlier, and we talked a little bit about ways to promote yourself a little bit. Do you have any special tools or apps or anything that you use? I know you watch the YouTube videos. Do you blog or visit any forums to give you ideas about what you're selling?
Yes. So I do use the phone Etsy app and the eBay app. And I learned that I can connect 2 shops, so I can look at both shops. I have started an Instagram page. SoFlyVintage is for that one shop, and I also have a ChrisAliciaVintage Instagram page as well. I am just starting a blog that is at ChristinaAlicia.com. And in that tab, I'm going to start being more intentional about my reselling journey. Part of this journey has a lot to do with me, best me journey path. And the reason why I started reselling dealt a lot with me just making sure that I am prepared for retirement, that I'm financially savvy. I was in school for 13 years. So yes, I got some fellowships and scholarships, but I also had a lot of debt. So part of the blog will be set up to talk about finances, being financially free, using strategies like reselling to increase cash flow. And for those who are paying off student loans and debts, how does that process look? And what are some tips to help other people pay down the debt so that they can be financially free? So the blog will be something that I think I have 3 posts now, but over time, I hope it really develops into something where people who are working full time, who are working 9 to 5, and also reselling have a sort of a place to talk about goals and strategies. One more website that I have to mention, it's flippertools.com. It's my favorite way to see how the item cost. I think it's the easiest website. There are a few videos where people are showing you how to figure out how much something sold, but that's all you have to do is put in, there's a Etsy code or item number to every sale. And on the website, it shows exactly how it works, and it's just a cut and paste, very simple way to figure out how much people are selling their items for. So that's one of my favorite places to go if I want to see how much to price my items for.
Say the name of the website again.
It's flippertools.com.
Excellent. I do believe that Margaret with Texas Gal Treasures did a little video about that website because it sounds familiar to me. I can see it in my mind. I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. And yeah, you just put the URL of the Etsy item, and then it'll give you the information that you're looking for, because that's the one thing that Etsy does not disclose unless you hunt for it, is how much stuff sold for. So that's a fantastic resource. Thank you for bringing that up, and I'll try to link to that below so that others can check it out too. So thank you for bringing that one up. So with your blog idea, I think that might be nice to incorporate maybe some videos. Do you think making videos might be in your future?
Yeah, so this whole Best Me journey will involve YouTube videos. I have a YouTube channel that I started some time ago. I was very interested in showcasing hair and doing different hairstyles, but sort of my interests have changed completely now that I finished school. So I will be showcasing things that I sell. I'm very interested in letting people know even some of the mechanics behind reselling, around budgeting and timing and making sure things are in place so that you can really see the numbers and the profits. So that's the goal, to have that YouTube channel and also embed videos into the ChristinaAlicia.com blog.
Well, it sounds fantastic. The idea sounds wonderful. I love the fact that you specifically brought up that this helps you pay down debt, student loans in your case, and I'm sure, you know, I've got credit card bills and stuff. And that's one of the reasons that I think a lot of people do get into reselling, is just to make a little extra money to help, because not everybody wants to be a full-time reseller. You know, I'm perfectly comfortable in my full-time job. It's great for me. It gives me the health care and everything that I need. It gives me the money I need to pay my basic bills, but having a little extra is great. I'm coming up on a vacation here in a couple of weeks, and I paid for that vacation almost entirely because of my reselling. So, and of course, I've also paid down credit cards and things like that too. So having a blog about that, giving additional resources to people who want to learn, you know, how to incorporate this into their life, that's awesome. I can't wait to see more. So awesome. Bring it on.
and my goal even on the blog is to really be open and transparent. So I will show numbers of the type of student loan or what the whole situation was. I'll be showing tips, and there are a few opportunities depending on people's background and degrees where you can find grants to pay for some of it, a portion of it. So I hope that it could be a great community where we can sort of share tips on how to be more mindful and make the most out of, you know, the resources that we have. So that's the goal.
I think that is one of the greatest things that I have found with this reselling journey, is making people, you know, giving helpful hints, things like that. I know that I have learned so much through all of the different Facebook groups and all the videos that I watch and all the people who come and watch my stuff. I'm always learning new things.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just such a warm and supportive environment. We're not trying to outdo each other or take each other down or criticize the way you manage your business versus the way I manage my business. And you're wanting to give back, and I think that's so beautiful. And I can't wait. So
thank you.
I hope you start soon.
Yeah. So the website I did get up, and I do have, like I said, a few posts. One of the first posts will involve another Etsy post, a future post that's coming up, deals with pitfalls of reselling, and it's going to be a free downloadable ebook of sorts where people can go to the website, see a few tips, and have like a checklist that they can use to making sure that they are making sure they get the most out of reselling and actually seeing their numbers. So I list pitfalls that I dealt with in the process and some tricks on how I overcame those pitfalls. So that downloadable piece will be available, and it's free. It's no charge. It's just a checklist, a resource for people who are visiting. But I hope to keep it as useful as possible. And as I'm doing posting things, as well as when I even start a channel or start videos on that channel, I have a email address, ChristinaAlicia.com@gmail.com. It's weird because it's .com twice, but ChristinaAlicia.com@gmail.com. If people have questions or they want to see numbers or views, I have the similar philosophy of Planet Alyssa, where I'm open to show you what the views were and what the numbers are, because I'm happy to share, and I don't really come from a scarcity mentality. I think there's so much out there in terms of there's so many consumers of these things, and there's so many people looking for these items that I think we can all, be at the table and be successful all at the same time. So there's just a lot out there, and I'm glad I'm a part of the community, and I'm looking forward to interacting with other people who are on the journey as well.
Well, when we're done with our little conversation today, please do send me a message with any website or link. Give me your Instagram accounts and everything, so I can link that down in the description of the video so people can come see you and visit you and follow you on this next step. So I want to support you as much as possible. It just sounds amazing.
Thank you.
So what kind of hobbies do you have besides reselling? What do you do in your normal life?
Yeah, so outside of work, so I'm a full-time professor, and outside of work, I am traveling, spending time with friends. This summer, I'm going to have to close the shop for a month because I'll be in Los Angeles, and I will take off a week during that time to take a vacation. I'm going to Maui for a week, which will be really exciting. So.
Yeah.
So traveling, doing research, I work a lot with offender populations. I am very interested in providing interventions for people who are being released from prison. So I've done worked with a lot of initiatives, making sure people have resources to transition back into the community. Passionate
Wonderful.
about at-risk youth, so I do a lot of things around youth. We're involved with the justice system. And I am also involved in a church as well. So you'll also see sort of that theme of spirituality also kind of throughout the different things that I post, because that's a very important component of my life. So Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. You sound like a very busy lady, and the fact that you can take a month, vacation is great, and that probably has a lot to do with your teaching schedule. Your regular job. It is summer vacation now, right?
Yeah, summer vacation, but now we teach online too. So I'm teaching online. Thank goodness you can teach anywhere online. So
Good.
I will have the opportunity to travel a bit. And this is my first time putting the shop on vacation. I don't want to, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. I was thinking about letting people purchase and then sending them a message saying that, there will be a delay. But I think I will go ahead and close shop and open up shop once I return.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm going to be closing mine. I'm only going to be gone a week, but I am going to close mine down, and I have done that before, and I honestly did not ever experience any sort of problems as far as regenerating the activity in my shop once I reopened. They're really at all for me. Within a couple hours of opening my shop again, the last time I took a vacation, I had sales. So it just happens. I would not be scared of it. You got to do what you got to do, and you got to take care of yourself.
Yes.
You need to have some downtime, and the best way to take care of your customers is to take care of them when you are able to be there. So
I agree.
And not put yourself out while you're trying to relax.
Yes.
So do you buy anything on Etsy? Do you collect anything besides being a seller? Do you also purchase?
Yeah, so when I first started, I would buy a number of jewelry supplies on Etsy. I bought beads, and I bought materials to make jewelry. And then when I decided that I would transition and get into reselling, my shopping sort of came to a stop because I was start thinking about budget and dollars and money. So I stopped buying. But I think for me, it would be harder to purchase something online from a reseller just because I come in contact with so many things that I get for so cheap. So it's very hard to buy something that I know I can find for 50 cents from someone for $40. So I haven't bought anything from resellers, but if there was something that I was looking for, I would definitely go to the Etsy community first and look through the shops that were available. I would look on eBay because I would absolutely want to support the stores versus other boutiques and shops.
That's good. I buy a ton of stuff on Etsy. I just bought a whole bunch of stuff from my vacation. Told you about those sunglasses. I bought some jewelry because we're going on a cruise. I'm taking my father. We're going to go up to Alaska on a cruise, and they have special formal night. It's a gala night for the dining room. So I bought some fancy jewelry so I could look pretty.
Nice.
Yeah. But I think about that too, that point that you made. It's like, I know that I could probably get that for less than $1 down the street at my favorite charity shop. But then I'm just a sucker for a shiny object. So if I see it online, I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to find that down the street. I'm going to buy it now.
Yeah. And in that case, I would definitely look on Etsy to purchase something. If I saw something that I really wanted, or if there was a specific occasion, I knew what I was looking for, I would buy. And I love cruises because you get to dress up, and each night you can wear something different. And I love it.
This is only my second cruise. This is going to be my dad's first, so we're both super excited. So
awesome. My favorite part, I don't know if they have a comedy club on the cruise, but that's like my favorite entertainment option or component to a cruise.
Yeah, I hope so. So we'll see. Well, I'm sort of kind of running out of questions here. We covered a lot of great stuff today. I know you had some questions for me about the teams and stuff. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we covered it all. I am excited to see your next few videos, and every Friday I have a routine where I check in, look at Planet Alyssa videos.
Yeah.
I look at your videos. I also watch the Scavenger Life. Not sure if you're familiar with them, See and Say. So there's a few people I'll just go through, and at the end of the week I watch my videos and I apply the tips and strategies. But yeah, I think that you cover so much, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And I look forward to seeing Thrifty Teresa grow and continue to get bigger. You'll have, thousands of items. We're the two 9-to-5ers, right? We're working all day long, but we're still pushing it and making it work.
Yeah. So. Well, now I think I have a new goal where I need to have 100 items per category.
Yeah.
Keep up with the same pace with each other.
When you said that there are 15 categories, and I paused and thought about it, I thought, okay, maybe not. So I think I'm actually revised the goal, but it sounded simple and feasible at the moment. And then I thought, well, I do want to sell items, so is that even possible? So I have to work through that.
Well, you don't have to have 15 categories. You can have 15. Yeah. If you want to limit yours down to a nice, healthy 10, which is what we've had for a while till the last Etsy update, that's cool. So don't push yourself too far. The 15. I know you just moved, you probably are still unpacking, you don't want to go out buying a whole bunch of more stuff just to fill up those categories.
Yeah, that's so true.
Well, awesome. Christina, I am so thankful that you were willing to talk to me today. I know you said you were nervous, and gosh, I totally understand, but I do have to say you are the first person that I've talked to now that is not a YouTube person, who does not make videos, and it's been pretty hard for me to convince people to come talk to me online when they're not used to putting themselves out there. But you obviously have some goals that you want to put yourself out there. You want to give back to the community, and I am really, really looking forward to it. So please send me all your information so I can share it with all of the viewers. And I encourage the viewers to leave questions or comments for Christina, visit her shop, visit her Instagram, subscribe to her blog. We got to support each other the best way that we can. So, and that's part of the reason I wanted to start the interview series, is to keep the sense of community, to learn from each other, and to support each other. So having you talk to me today has been wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. It's just crazy to watch someone and then someone sends you a note saying, would you be willing to interview? And I was like, wow, really? All right, I'll give it a shot. So you've broken the ice for me. People will see a lot more of me on YouTube now that I've gone through this process here.
I'm looking forward to it. So thank you again. Thank you everybody out there for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.